Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into one of America's harshest chapters, the Dust Bowl. You're going to experience a single, ordinary day in the life of a Kansas homesteader farmer in April 1935. My name is Henry Kaufmann, and I'm 34 years old, trying to hold on to 320 acres of western Kansas prairie that's turning to powder beneath my feet. This isn't a day of dramatic events or historic turning points. It's just survival, just stubbornness, just another day of refusing to give up what my father and I built, even when every sane voice says we should pack up and leave. So before we begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of immersive history. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is, and especially if you got connections to the Dust Bowl era or if your family farmed the Great Plains. Those of you who worked the land or remember stories your parents told about the Depression and the droughts, I'd love to hear how this compares to your experience. Now settle in, get comfortable, and let's step back in time together. Close your eyes if you want. You're about to live a day that someone actually lived 90 years ago. Dawn, April 14th, 1935. I wake up before the alarm. I always do these days. It's maybe 4:45 in the morning, and the room is still dark except for that faint gray glow coming through the window, though calling it a window is generous. It's more like a pane of glass with a thick coating of dust on both sides. I've given up trying to keep it clean. You wipe it down, and 6 hours later, the dust has settled back, finer than flour, working its way through cracks I didn't even know existed. I'm lying here in bed, and I can hear my wife Martha breathing beside me. She's still asleep. Good. She needs it. Our 2 kids, Ruth is 6, Tommy is 4, are in the next room, and I can't hear them yet, which means I've got maybe 15-20 minutes before the day truly begins. Before I have to put on the face that says everything's going to be fine, that we're going to make it, that this drought has to break eventually. The truth is, I don't know if I believe that anymore. I look at my hands in the dim light. They're cracked and dry, bleeding at the knuckles where the skin just can't keep up with the abuse anymore. I'm 34 years old, and my hands look like they belong to a man of 60. That's what the wind and the dust and the endless work does. It ages you faster than time alone ever could. I lie there for another minute, listening. The wind is always the first thing you check. Is it blowing? How hard? From which direction? This morning, it's relatively calm. I can hear it, a low whisper around the eaves of the house, but it's not howling. That's something. On bad days, and we've had plenty of those lately, the wind screams like a living thing, and you wake up with grit between your teeth even though you slept with your mouth closed. I swing my legs out of bed, and my feet touch the wooden floor, even through my socks. I sleep in my socks because the nights are still cold in April. I can feel the grit. Dust on the floor, dust on the nightstand, dust on the lamp, dust on the Bible. Martha keeps beside the bed, though I notice she hasn't opened it in a while. I don't blame her. It's hard to pray to a God who seems to have forgotten that rain exists. I stand up slowly, my back protesting. I'm not old, but I feel old. Every morning starts like this, a catalog of aches and pains that I tell myself are temporary, even though they've been getting steadily worse for 3 years. 3 years since the rains stopped. 3 years since the wheat failed. 3 years since we started living on hope and stubbornness and not much else. I pull on my overalls. They're hanging on the bedpost where I left them last night, and I notice Martha's stirring. She doesn't open her eyes, but her breathing changes. She's awake. Going out to check the animals, I whisper. She responds. That's all. Not be careful, or it's too early, or any of the things she used to say. We've run out of words for this particular conversation. I go out every morning. I check the animals every morning. There's nothing new to say about it. I grab my shirt from the chair. It's the same one I wore yesterday and the day before that, and pull it on. It's stiff with dried sweat and dust, but it's clean enough. Martha does laundry when we have water to spare, which isn't often. The well is running low. That's another problem for later. I walk through the bedroom door into the main room of the house. It's not much kitchen, living area, all in one space. The kids' room is off to the left, door closed. The house is 60 feet long and 20 feet wide, which sounds spacious until you live in it with a family of 4 and realize there's nowhere to be alone, nowhere to hide from each other's worry and fear, and slowly building desperation. The stove is cold. I'll start a fire in it later after I've done the outdoor chores. We're conserving wood. We have to conserve everything: water, wood, kerosene, food, hope. Everything's in short supply except dust and wind. Those we have in abundance. I pull on my boots. They're by the door, caked in yesterday's dust, and the day before that, and every day stretching back into what feels like forever. The leather is cracked and dry. I've tried to oil them, but we're down to our last tin of dubbing, and I'm saving it for when the cracks get truly bad. These boots have to last. I can't afford new ones. I lace them up, my fingers working automatically. This is ritual now. Wake up. Put on the same clothes. Lace the same boots. Walk out the same door to face the same devastating landscape. Ritual gives structure to chaos, or at least that's what I tell myself. I grab my hat from the peg by the door. It's a wide-brimmed felt hat, stained with sweat and dust, the band dark with years of both. I settle it on my head, and it fits like it's part of my skull. I've worn this hat through a war, and through 10 years of farming, and through 3 years of drought. It's seen better days. So have I. The door creaks when I open it. I keep meaning to oil the hinges, but that's another task on a list that's gotten too long to ever complete. The cool morning air hits my face, and immediately I taste it. Dust. Even on a relatively calm morning like this, there's dust in the air. Fine particles that get into your nose, your throat, your lungs. You're never free of it, never clean of it. I step off the porch, 3 wooden steps, worn smooth and sagging, and my boots hit the packed earth of the yard. It used to be a yard with grass. My father planted grass seed when he first built this place in 1900. I remember running through that grass as a child, green and thick and alive. Now it's just dirt. Hard, packed dirt and dust dunes that shift with every wind. The barn is to my left, maybe 80 feet away. It's a simple structure, not fancy, but it was solid when my father built it. It's listing now, leaning slightly to the southeast because of the prevailing winds. I've shored it up 3 times in the past year, but I'm running out of timber and energy for repairs. I can hear the chickens starting to stir in their coop. They know the routine same as I do. The cow. We have 1 cow left, down from 4, will be waiting in the barn, patient and resigned. The 2 horses will be there too, though I don't know how much longer I can keep feeding them. The hay crop failed last year, the year before that. The year before that. I pull open the barn door and it scrapes across the dirt. The sound is loud in the morning, quiet, and I wince, hoping it doesn't wake the kids. Inside, the barn smells like it always does. Hay dust, manure, leather, old wood. It's dark in here, the only light coming from gaps in the walls and the open door behind me. "Morning, Bessie," I say to the cow. She's standing in her stall, looking at me with those big, patient eyes that seem to hold more understanding than they should. She's a good cow. She's been giving milk even on the reduced feed, though not as much as she used to. I don't know how she does it. Some kind of bovine stubbornness that matches my own. The horses. Duke and Molly are in the next stalls over. They're workhorses, plow horses, the kind that used to pull the gang plow through rich prairie soil. Now they mostly stand around, eating hay we can't afford, waiting for work that may never come again. I need them though. When the rain comes back, I'll need them to help replant. That's the plan anyway. That's the hope. I grab the three-legged milk stool from where it hangs on the wall and carry it over to Bessie's stall. I set it down in the dirt. The floor used to be covered in straw, but we're conserving straw now too, and I settle onto it with a grunt. My knees pop. Everything pops these days. I lean my head against Bessie's warm flank and start milking. The rhythmic squirt into the pail is soothing, meditative. This is one task that hasn't changed, one piece of normal in a world that's gone strange. Pull, squeeze, release. Pull, squeeze, release. The milk hisses into the pail, white and clean and proof that life continues even when it feels like everything's dying. Bessie shifts her weight, patient. She's been through this before. Every morning, same time, same place, same hands. There's comfort in that for both of us, I think. The barn is quiet except for the milk hitting the pail, the occasional stomp of a horse hoof, the creaking of old wood settling. I let myself relax just a fraction. Out here, alone with the animals, I don't have to pretend. I don't have to smile and say, "It'll be fine," and act like I have any idea what I'm doing. The truth is, I'm terrified. I'm 34 years old, I have a wife and 2 children depending on me, and I have no idea how we're going to survive the next 6 months. The wheat I planted last fall didn't come up. The wheat before that blew away in the wind. The wheat before that withered in the field. We've had 3 consecutive crop failures, and I've got maybe $200 in the bank money I've borrowed against. Money that's already spoken for, money that won't last past summer. But I can't tell Martha that. I can't tell the kids. I have to be strong. I have to be certain. I have to act like I know something they don't know, like I've got a plan beyond, wait for rain and hope. The milk pail is about 1/3 full when Bessie's udder goes soft. That's all she's got this morning. It used to be a full pail, sometimes more. But her feed's been cut, and she's giving what she can. I stand up, my knees protesting again, and I pat her on the flank. "Good girl," I tell her. "That's my good girl." I move over to the horses and give them each a small scoop of oats from the nearly empty feed bin. They deserve more. They need more. But this is what there is. They munch contentedly enough, not complaining, not demanding. Animals accept what is. It's people who struggle with reality. I check their water trough. It's about half full, and the water's got a film of dust on it. Everything's got a film of dust on it. I'll clean it later, refill it from the well, hope the well keeps giving. The chickens are next. I leave the barn and walk to the chicken coop. It's a small shed about 30 feet from the barn, wire fencing around a bare dirt run. We used to have 30 chickens. We're down to 9. Some died. Some we ate. Some stopped laying and got turned into soup. These 9 are the survivors, the tough ones, the ones that adapted to eating less and living in dust and still managing to produce an egg now and then. I unlatch the coop door and step inside. The smell hits me, concentrated chicken in confined space. It's not pleasant, but it's life. It's animal warmth and functioning biology and proof that something in this God-forsaken landscape is still working. "Morning, ladies," I say to them. A few cluck in response. Most ignore me. They're busy pecking at the dust, looking for grain I scattered yesterday. They won't find much. Chickens are optimists. I check the nesting boxes. 3 eggs. That's actually good. On bad days, I get one. On very bad days, none. 3 eggs means breakfast will have something besides cornmeal mush. Martha will be pleased. The kids will be thrilled. It's amazing how a few eggs can feel like prosperity when you're used to nothing. I pocket the eggs carefully, wrapping them in the handkerchief I keep for this purpose. Breaking an egg through carelessness is a sin I can't afford to commit. I give the chickens a small handful of cracked corn from the sack we keep in the coop. They rush at it, pecking frantically, competing for every kernel. I used to give them twice this much, 3 times, but the feed store wants cash I don't have, and I'm rationing what's left. These chickens are survivors. They'll make it work. They have to. I close up the coop and step back outside. The sun is starting to think about rising. The eastern horizon has that dull glow that suggests morning is coming, whether you're ready for it or not. The air is cool still, probably 45 degrees, but it'll be in the 80s by noon. The temperature swings are wild out here. You freeze at night and bake during the day, and your body never quite adjusts to either. I walk back to the house, the milk pail in one hand, eggs in my pocket. The yard is silent except for the wind. It's picking up a little, whispering around the barn corners, rattling a loose board somewhere. I stop for a moment and just listen, just feel. This used to be beautiful. When I was a kid, this prairie was covered in grass buffalo grass, blue grama, big blue stem that grew 6 feet tall in wet years. You could see for 20 miles in every direction, nothing but rolling grassland and big sky. The sunrises were like nothing else on earth, all pink and orange and purple, clean and clear. Now the sunrises are orange too, but it's the orange of dust in the atmosphere. The sky isn't clear. It's hazy, thick with topsoil that used to anchor this land and now just floats in the air, looking for somewhere to settle. The prairie isn't grassland, it's wasteland. Bare dirt and dust dunes and the bones of dead farms stretching to every horizon. But it's still home, still the only place I know. Still the land my father homesteaded, the land he worked until it killed him in 1931. Still the land I promised him I'd keep, no matter what. That promise is getting harder to keep. Morning, building the day. I go back inside. Martha is up now, moving around the kitchen in her worn house dress, her hair still in the braid she sleeps in. She looks tired. She always looks tired these days. We're both tired. Tired in our bones, in our souls, in every fiber of who we are. 3 eggs, I say, pulling them from my pocket and setting them carefully on the table. Her face lights up. Actually lights up, and for a moment she looks like the girl I married 10 years ago, back when we both believed the future held nothing but promise. 3 eggs, she repeats, like I've brought home a treasure. Which I suppose I have. I'll make a scramble, she says. With a bit of that salt pork, the kids will have a real breakfast. She doesn't mention that there's not enough for 4 people to have a full meal from 3 eggs and a scrap of meat. She doesn't mention that she'll barely eat, claiming she's not hungry, even though I can see her ribs through her dress. We've both gotten good at not mentioning things. I set the milk pail on the counter. Got about a quart from Bessie. She's doing her best. Bless her, Martha says, and she means it. That cow is keeping us from absolute destitution. Her milk is the difference between thin and starving, between coffee with something in it and coffee with nothing. I walk over to the wash basin, a ceramic bowl sitting on a rough table near the door, and pour a little water from the pitcher. The water is warm from sitting out overnight, and it has that slightly metallic taste that well water gets when the water table drops. I splash it on my face, feeling the grit of dust mix with the water, creating a paste. I rub it off with a rag, and the rag comes away gray. Behind me, I hear the kids starting to stir in their room. Ruth's voice, then Tommy's, higher, younger, asking some question I can't make out. They'll be out in a minute, wanting breakfast, wanting attention, wanting their day to start. I turn to Martha. I'm going to walk the fields after breakfast. Check the soil, see if there's any point in trying to plant this week. She doesn't look at me. She's cracking the eggs into the skillet with careful precision, making sure not a drop of egg white is wasted. You thinking about trying winter wheat again? Don't know what else to try, I say. Government man says there's a program now. Might be able to get seed on credit. Agricultural adjustment, something. Says if I agree to let some land go fallow, reduce production, they'll help with the rest. Reduce production, Martha repeats, and there's something in her voice, bitter irony maybe. We've already reduced it to nothing. How much more reduced can it get? She's got a point. Ruth and Tommy come tumbling out of their room, Ruth pulling Tommy by the hand because he's still half asleep. She's wearing the dress Martha made from flour sacks. You can still faintly see the Pillsbury's Best logo if you know where to look. Tommy's in overalls that used to be mine, cut down and sewn to fit a 4-year-old. Everything we own is make-do, hand-me-down, repurposed. "Daddy!" Tommy shouts, suddenly awake, running toward me. I catch him and lift him up, and he's light, too light. Kids should be heavier. He should be sturdy and solid and growing. Instead, he's thin, all bones and joints, and I can feel his ribs through his shirt. "Morning, buddy," I say, setting him down. "You hungry?" "Is there breakfast?" Ruth asks, cautious. She's old enough to have learned that breakfast isn't guaranteed, that food comes when it comes, and you don't complain if there isn't much. "Scrambled eggs," Martha announces, and both kids' faces brighten like Christmas morning. Real eggs, and a bit of meat, too. We gather around the table. It's rough pine, built by my father, scarred and stained by decades of use. 4 mismatched chairs, 4 plates, 1 chipped, 1 cracked, all worn, 4 forks. Martha serves the eggs, dividing them carefully, and I notice she gives herself about a tablespoon's worth while loading up the kids' plates. I catch her eye, and she looks away. This is an old argument we've stopped having out loud. We eat slowly, savoring. The eggs are good. They taste like eggs should taste, rich and satisfying. The salt pork adds flavor and a bit of fat that our bodies are desperate for. We wash it down with milk cut with water to make it stretch further, and with coffee for Martha and me. Coffee so weak you can almost see through it, but it's warm and it has the idea of coffee, and that's enough. Tommy swings his legs as he eats, happy. Ruth eats with careful precision, not wasting a crumb. Martha eats her tiny portion in 3 bites, and then sits with her coffee, watching us. I eat mine too fast, wanting to save more for the kids, and my stomach growls in protest, wanting more. There is no more. "Daddy has to check the fields this morning," Martha tells the kids. "Ruth, I'll need you to help me with some washing. Tommy, you can play in the yard, but stay close." "Can I help, Daddy?" Tommy asks, looking at me with big, hopeful eyes. I hesitate. It's going to be a discouraging walk, looking at land that refuses to produce, and I don't want him to see my face when I confront that reality again. But he's looking at me like I'm a hero, like going to look at dead dirt is the most exciting thing in the world, and I can't say no. "Sure, buddy," I say. "You can help me. But it'll be dusty." "I don't mind dust," he says confidently, though he has no idea what he's talking about. Nobody minds dust until they've lived in it for 3 years straight. We finish breakfast. Martha collects the plates and takes them to the wash basin. Water is too precious to wash dishes properly, so she'll wipe them clean with a rag and stack them for the next meal. Everything is conserved, rationed, stretched to its breaking point. I stand up from the table and look out the window at the rising sun. It's maybe 6:30 now, full dawn, and the day is starting in earnest. The wind has picked up. I can see dust devils forming in the distance, little spinning columns of dirt that dance across the fields. "Ready, Tommy?" "Ready." We head outside together, Tommy's small hand in mine. The sun is fully up now, and already I can feel the heat building. It's going to be another hot one. It's always a hot one. We walk toward the fields, or what used to be fields. North of the barn, there's 80 acres that I plowed last fall, hoping to get winter wheat in. The wheat came up about 3 inches and then just stopped, dried out, blew away. Now it's just bare dirt, plowed into furrows that are gradually filling in with dust. Tommy walks beside me, his little legs working hard to keep up with my stride. I slow down for him, matching his pace. We don't talk much. He's looking around, seeing what there is to see, which is nothing, just flat brown land and blue sky and dust. "Daddy, why doesn't the grass grow?" he asks after a while. It's a good question. A fair question. I'm not sure how to answer it in a way a 4-year-old can understand. "Well," I say slowly, "grass needs rain to grow, and we haven't had much rain for a long time." "Why not?" "I don't know, buddy. Sometimes it just doesn't rain." "But why?" This is the eternal question of the 4-year-old, and it's one I can't answer. Why doesn't it rain? I don't know. Because God has forsaken us? Because we plowed up the grassland that held the soil, and now we're paying for that hubris? Because weather is random and we're just unlucky? Pick your explanation. None of them help. "It just doesn't," I finally say. "But maybe it will soon. Maybe this year." "Okay," Tommy says, accepting this non-answer with the faith of a child who still believes his father knows everything. We reach the field, and I stop at the edge, looking out across the furrows. They run straight for half a mile, perfectly plowed, absolutely useless. The soil here used to be rich, deep black loam, the kind that grows wheat like magic. Now it's gray, dry, crumbling to powder at the slightest touch. I kneel down and scoop up a handful of dirt. It runs through my fingers like sand, fine and loose. There's no moisture in it, no cohesion, no life. This dirt wants to blow away. It's just waiting for the next big wind to carry it off to someone else's problem. "Can we plant anything?" Tommy asks. "Maybe," I say, though I don't believe it. "Maybe if we get rain this week." The forecast, such as it is, says no rain. The forecast for next week says no rain. The forecast for the rest of the month says no rain. But I keep checking, keep hoping, keep thinking. Maybe this time will be different. I stand up and dust off my hands, but the dust just transfers from my hands to my pants, so I've accomplished nothing. Story of my life these days. Tommy is looking up at me, waiting for direction, for purpose, for his father to tell him what to do next. I should have some brilliant plan. I should know how to fix this. I'm the adult. I'm the one who's supposed to have answers. "Let's walk the fence line," I say, because that's something to do. Check for breaks, loose posts, make sure everything's tight. "Okay, Daddy." We walk the perimeter of the field, checking fence posts that don't really need checking because there's no livestock to keep in or out, inspecting wire that's fine except for being buried in dust. It's busy work, but it's work, and work gives structure to the day. Work keeps you from thinking too hard about the bigger questions, like, how are we going to survive, and should I give up and leave? Those of you who worked farms will know what I'm talking about. There's always something to check, something to maintain, something to keep you busy even when the actual farming part has failed. The infrastructure of agriculture continues even when agriculture itself has stopped. We walk for maybe 45 minutes, covering the whole northern boundary. Tommy chatters occasionally, asking about birds. There aren't many. About wind. There's always wind. About when we'll eat again. "Lunch," I tell him, though I'm not sure what we'll have. I respond when I need to, but mostly I'm thinking. I'm thinking about money. I'm thinking about the $200 in the bank that's already allocated 3 times over. I'm thinking about the mortgage payment coming due in June. I'm thinking about the seed I need to buy if I'm going to try planting again. I'm thinking about Martha's sister in California who keeps writing letters saying we should come west, that there's work in the fields there, that we should give up on Kansas and start over. I'm thinking that she might be right. But I'm also thinking about my father, who homesteaded this land in 1900, who built this house with his own hands, who worked this soil for 31 years before dying of dust pneumonia in his own bed. I'm thinking about the promise I made at his grave, that I'd keep the farm going, that I wouldn't let his life's work turn to dust. Too late for that. It already has. Daddy, I'm tired, Tommy says, and I realize we've been walking for too long for a 4-year-old's legs. Okay, buddy, let's head back. I pick him up and carry him, and he's so light it breaks my heart. He rests his head on my shoulder, and I can feel his breath on my neck, warm and alive. This is what I'm fighting for. Not the land, really, not even the farm. This weight in my arms, this life that depends on me, this child who trusts me to know what I'm doing. We walk back toward the house, and I can see Martha in the yard, hanging laundry on the line. There isn't much laundry. We don't have many clothes to wash, but she's hanging what there is, and the wind immediately presses it flat against the line, making the wet fabric flap like flags. Ruth is helping her, or trying to. She's carrying a wet sheet that's almost bigger than she is, struggling to hand it up to her mother. Martha takes it gently, clips it to the line with clothespins, and pats Ruth on the head. They're working together, making do, surviving. This is my family. This is everything that matters. I set Tommy down when we reach the yard, and he immediately runs to Martha, grabbing her skirt, telling her about the fence posts and the field and everything we saw, which was nothing, but he makes it sound like an adventure. Martha smiles at him and then looks at me over his head. Everything okay out there? Same as yesterday, I say, which is answer enough. She nods. We both know what same as yesterday means. No change, no rain, no hope of a crop. Same slow slide toward the inevitable. Government man's supposed to come by this afternoon, I tell her. About that program, the one where they pay you not to plant. That doesn't make any sense, she says, wrestling with a wet pillowcase. How does not planting help anything? Reduces supply, supposedly. If less wheat gets grown, prices go up, and the farmers who do manage to grow something get paid better. But we're not growing anything anyway. No, I admit. But if we agree to officially not grow anything, they'll pay us a little something. And maybe provide seed for the reduced acreage we are allowed to plant. She processes this, hanging another piece of laundry. How much? Don't know yet. We'll see what he says. The morning wears on, the sun climbs higher, and with it comes the heat. By 10 o'clock, it's already 75 degrees and climbing. By 11, it'll be pushing 90. This is April. Summer will be hell. I busy myself with barn chores, mucking out the stalls, which is optimistic because there's not much waste to muck when the animals are barely eating. I repair a broken hinge on the chicken coop door using a scrap of leather and a nail. I sharpen the hoe and the spade, tools I might need if rain ever comes. I keep myself occupied with the small tasks that keep a farm functioning, even when the farm itself has stopped functioning. Around 11, Martha calls me in for coffee. We don't have lunch, really. We had breakfast, and we'll have dinner, and that's about all the food there is. But we have coffee, and coffee is a meal of sorts when there's nothing else. I sit at the table with Martha. The kids are playing outside. I can hear Tommy's voice, high and excited, talking to Ruth about something. Through the window, I can see them poking sticks into the dust, drawing pictures, making up games. Kids adapt. They find joy in nothing. It's a gift adults lose. What do you think? Martha asks, cradling her cup in both hands. About the government program. I sip my coffee. It's terrible, weak and bitter and mixed with something that isn't coffee but pretends to be. But it's hot and wet and it's something. I think, I say slowly, that it's better than nothing. If they're offering money, we need money. If they're offering seed, we need seed. Pride doesn't fill stomachs. She nods. Your father wouldn't have liked it, taking government handouts? My father's dead, I say, and it comes out harsher than I intended. Dead, from breathing dust and working himself to death on land that doesn't want to produce anymore. I'm not going to die that way. And I'm not going to let you and the kids die that way either. She looks at me, and there's something in her eyes. Fear, maybe. Or recognition that we've crossed a line we can't uncross. I've just admitted out loud that I'm considering giving up, that I'm willing to take charity, that I don't have the answers I've been pretending to have. I'm sorry, I say. I'm tired, Martha. I'm so tired. She reaches across the table and takes my hand. Her hand is thin and rough, all bone and callus and weathered skin. But it's warm, it's alive, it's anchoring me to something real. We'll figure it out, she says. We always do. I want to believe her. I want to believe that figuring it out is possible, that there's a solution to poverty and drought and economic collapse that doesn't involve surrender. But I'm not sure anymore. We sit there for a while, holding hands, drinking bad coffee, listening to the kids play outside. The wind picks up, rattling the window, and I can see dust starting to blow across the yard in sheets. The kids don't notice. They're used to it. I'm used to it too, but I hate it. I hate the dust with a passion that's almost alive. Dust in my eyes, dust in my mouth, dust in my ears and nose and lungs, dust on the furniture and the floor and the food, dust in the well water, dust in the milk, dust in the goddamn coffee I'm drinking right now. Dust everywhere, always, forever. Storm coming, Martha observes, looking out the window. She's right. The western horizon has that brown haze that means a dust storm is building. Not a big one. I've seen big ones, seen dust clouds 5,000 feet tall rolling across the prairie like the end of the world. This is just a medium one, maybe 1,000 feet tall, maybe an hour's worth of blowing dirt before it passes. I should bring the animals into the barn, I say, standing up. Get the chickens in the coop. I'll get the kids inside, Martha says, already moving toward the door. We've done this before. We know the drill. Midday, the storm. I step outside, and the wind hits me immediately. It's picked up from a whisper to a steady blow, maybe 20 miles per hour and building. The dust is coming in waves now, visible as brown sheets sweeping across the landscape. I can taste it. Metallic, gritty, with that particular flavor of topsoil that used to be someone's farm and is now just particles in the air. The dust storm is maybe 5 miles away, moving fast. I've got 10, maybe 15 minutes before it hits. I actually run, which I rarely do anymore, to the chicken coop and start shooing the hens inside. They're reluctant, pecking at the ground, not understanding the urgency. I grab them one by one and toss them gently into the coop, latching the door once they're all in. They'll complain, but they'll be safe from the worst of the storm. The horses and Bessie are already in the barn. I left them there this morning, thank God, but I need to close the barn doors, seal up the gaps, do what I can to keep the dust out. It won't work, of course. Dust finds its way through everything, but it helps. Marginally. I struggle with the barn doors, pulling them closed against the wind, dropping the bar across them. The wind is howling now, a sound like a living thing, like the prairie itself is screaming in pain. The dust is so thick I can barely see the house, maybe 60 feet away. I run back to the house, bent double against the wind, one arm over my face trying to filter the dust through my sleeve. It doesn't help. The dust is so fine it goes through fabric. Like fabric isn't there. I'm breathing it, tasting it, feeling it coat my teeth and tongue. I burst through the door and slam it shut behind me, leaning against it, gasping. My lungs feel full of sand. I cough, and when I cough, I taste dust. Martha has towels stuffed along the bottom of the door and the window frames, trying to seal the house. The kids are sitting at the table, eyes wide, watching the storm approach through the window. The sky has gone from blue to brown, and the light has that weird quality it gets during a dust storm, dim and brownish orange, like the whole world is inside a dirty lantern. Dampening the towels helps. Martha says, and she's pouring a precious pitcher of water onto the door towels, wetting them down. Wet cloth filters better than dry. We learned that the hard way. The storm hits. It's like someone throws a bucket of dirt at the house, a sudden hammering sound as millions of dust particles impact the walls, the roof, the windows. The wind screams, the whole house shakes, and the light, what little there was, dims to almost nothing. Martha lights the kerosene lamp, even though it's noon, because it's dark as evening in here now. The lamp creates a small circle of yellow light at the table, and we all gather around it, sitting close, waiting for the storm to pass. Ruth is scared. I can see it in her eyes, but she's trying to be brave. Tommy has climbed into Martha's lap, his face buried in her chest, his small body trembling. Martha holds him, stroking his hair, murmuring comfort. I can't hear over the wind. I sit down at the table and pull Ruth close. She leans against me, and I wrap my arm around her thin shoulders. It's okay, I tell her. It's just dust. It'll pass. When? She asks, her voice small. Maybe an hour, maybe less. I don't like it. I know, sweetheart. I don't like it either. We sit there in the lamplight while the storm rages outside. Dust comes in anyway, despite our efforts. I can see it settling on the table, on our laps, on the lamp itself. Fine as talcum powder, brown as old blood, coating everything. I pull out my handkerchief and hold it over my nose and mouth, breathing through fabric. It helps a little. Martha does the same. The kids bury their faces against us, filtering their air through our shirts. This is life now. This is what survival looks like. Sitting in lamplight at noon while the soil of somebody's failed farm buries your house. I think about California. I think about my sister-in-law's letters, talking about orange groves and work and rain, actual rain that falls from the sky and makes things grow. I think about leaving this place, loading what we can fit in the truck, heading west like thousands of others have done. But then I think about giving up, about admitting defeat, about abandoning the land my father died for, about becoming one more refugee, one more Okie headed west with nothing but hope and desperation. I'm not sure which is worse. The storm lasts an hour and 20 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on the wall, an old wind-up clock that my father brought from Germany, one of the few nice things we own. The hands move slowly, marking time while the world outside tries to bury us alive. Finally, gradually, the sound diminishes. The hammering becomes pattering, becomes whisper, becomes nothing. The light improves, brown to less, brown to almost normal. The wind drops from scream to howl to blow to breeze. I think it's past, I say. We wait another 10 minutes to be sure, and then I go to the door and pull away the towels. Dust has piled up against the door from the inside, a small drift, maybe an inch tall, that I have to sweep away just to open the door. I step outside. The world has changed. What was brown is now more brown. What was dusty is now buried. The drift against the barn is 4 feet tall. The truck, my 1927 Ford that barely runs anyway, is half buried, with dust piled up to the wheel wells on the windward side. The fence posts have disappeared entirely in places, marked only by the barbed wire still visible above the drifts. And everywhere, dust, thick as snow, smooth as a blanket, transforming the landscape into something alien and surreal. I stand there for a moment, just looking, and I feel something inside me break. Not break completely, not shatter, but crack. A hairline fracture in whatever part of me has been holding on to hope. Martha comes out and stands beside me. She doesn't say anything. There's nothing to say. I'll start shoveling, I finally manage. I'll help, she says. Afternoon, the cleanup. Shoveling dust. That's what my life has become. Literally, shoveling dirt that used to be someone's farm, that used to be soil capable of growing wheat, that used to be the foundation of civilization. I start with the barn doors. The drift is too big to move all at once, so I work at it methodically, scooping shovel loads and tossing them to the side. The dust is so fine, it doesn't even make a sound when it lands, just a soft whisper as millions of particles settle. Martha works beside me with another shovel. We don't talk. There's no breath for talking and working at the same time. We just shovel, making slow progress, carving a path through the drift. The horses are fine when I finally get the barn doors open. They're standing in their stalls, covered in dust, but alive, patient as always. Bessie is the same. The chickens in the coop are agitated but unhurt. Everything survived. Survival. It's what we're good at now. Not living, really. Not thriving. Just surviving, day after day, storm after storm, crisis after crisis. I shovel for 2 hours, clearing paths, moving drifts, trying to restore some semblance of order to the chaos. My back aches. My arms ache. My lungs ache from breathing dust. But I keep shoveling because stopping means acknowledging that this is futile, and I'm not ready for that acknowledgement yet. Around 3 o'clock, a car comes down the road, a county road that runs past our property. It's a black Ford sedan, and even from a distance I can tell it's official. Government car. Government man. Probably the one who's supposed to talk to me about the agricultural program. I lean on my shovel and watch the car approach, leaving a trail of dust in its wake. Everything leaves a trail of dust. The car pulls into our yard, or what's left of it, and parks near the house. A man gets out, young, maybe 25, wearing a clean white shirt and a tie, carrying a leather briefcase. He looks wrong here, like a creature from another planet, clean and pressed and official in a world of dirt and failure. "Mr. Kaufmann?" he calls, walking toward me. That's me. I'm Frank Morrison, from the Agricultural Adjustment Administration. We had an appointment? We did, I say, setting down my shovel. Sorry for the mess, had a dust storm. He looks around at the devastation, and I can see him struggling to maintain his composure. Yes, I can see that. Martha comes out of the house, wiping dust from her face with her apron. She's tried to make herself presentable, but presentable is relative when you're covered in a 1/4 inch of dust. Would you like to come inside? She offers. Thank you, ma'am, Morrison says, and we all head to the house. Inside, Morrison sits at our table and opens his briefcase, pulling out forms and papers. Martha offers him coffee. The last of this morning's pot, reheated, and he accepts politely, though I can see him trying not to notice the weakness of it. Mr. Kaufmann, he begins, shuffling papers. I'm here to discuss the Agricultural Adjustment Act programs available to farmers in this county. Are you familiar with the AAA? Little bit, I say. Heard you pay farmers not to plant, reduce supply, raise prices. That's essentially correct, Morrison says. The program pays producers to reduce acreage of certain crops, wheat, cotton, corn, by up to 50%. In exchange, you receive benefit payments based on your historical production and the current parity price. I don't understand half of what he just said, but I nod anyway. How much? I ask bluntly. How much do you pay? Morrison pulls out a chart, running his finger down columns of numbers. For wheat, based on your county's historical yield and the current parity calculation, for 320 acres with a 50% reduction, you'd be looking at approximately 12 cents per bushel on your historical average yield. What did you average? 15 bushels an acre, I say, in good years, before the drought? He does some math on a piece of paper. That would be 160 acres at 15 bushels, 2,400 bushels at 12 cents, approximately $288 annually. $288 for doing nothing, for officially not planting what I wasn't going to be able to plant anyway. And you provide seed for the acres I am allowed to plant? We can arrange credit for seed purchases through the Farm Credit Administration, yes. Interest rates are favorable, 3% annually. 3%. I'm paying the bank 8% on my mortgage. This is starting to sound like a lifeline. What do I have to do? Morrison pulls out more forms. Sign the contract, agreeing to reduce your wheat acreage by at least 40%. You'll be visited by a county inspector to verify compliance. They'll measure your fields, check your planting records, ensure you're meeting the requirements. Payments are made quarterly, starting after verification of the first season's compliance. So I sign now, but I don't get paid until fall? Correct. After the verification of the spring reduction. I look at Martha. She's standing by the stove, listening, her face unreadable. We need this money. We need any money. But signing up for a government program, taking federal assistance, admitting that we can't make it on our own, it sticks in my throat. Mr. Kaufmann, Morrison says, his voice gentler now, I've been to 43 farms in this county in the past month. 37 of them have signed up for the program. The ones who haven't, most of them are planning to leave. Head to California, try their luck there. Leaving. The word hangs in the air like dust. My father homesteaded this land, I hear myself say, in 1900. Built this house with his own hands, worked this soil for 31 years. I understand, Morrison says, and I think maybe he does. But the land isn't what it was. The drought, the wind, the poor farming practices before we knew better. It's changed everything. This program isn't charity, Mr. Kaufmann. It's trying to give farmers a chance to recover, to let the land recover without starving in the process. I look at my hands on the table, cracked, bleeding, useless hands that can't make dead soil live again. Where do I sign? Morrison slides the forms across the table, pointing to signature lines. I pick up the pen he offers, a nice fountain pen, clean and shiny and nothing like the pencil stubs we use for everything, and I sign my name. Henry Kaufmann. There, it's done. I'm officially a farmer who doesn't farm, a man who makes his living by promising not to do the thing that defines him. Thank you, Mr. Kaufmann, Morrison says, gathering his papers. You'll receive a letter confirming your enrollment within 2 weeks, and the county inspector will contact you to schedule a verification visit. First payment should come in October, assuming compliance. October, 6 months away. We have to survive 6 more months on nothing before the government money comes. Is there? Martha speaks up for the first time. Is there any assistance available before October? We have children, and food is. She doesn't finish, but she doesn't have to. Morrison nods slowly. There's the Federal Emergency Relief Administration. They provide direct assistance, food, sometimes cash, to families in extreme need. The office is in the county seat. I can give you the information. He writes an address on a piece of paper and hands it to Martha. She takes it, her face carefully blank, and folds it carefully. This is what we've become. People who need federal assistance to feed our children. Morrison packs up his briefcase and stands. I know this is hard, he says, but you're doing the right thing, the smart thing. There's no shame in accepting help when you need it. I don't answer. I just nod. We walk him to the door, and he steps out into the dusty yard, picking his way carefully to his car. He brushes dust off the door handle before getting in, starts the engine, and drives away, leaving another plume of dust in his wake. Martha and I stand in the doorway, watching him go. $288, she says quietly. That's something. In 6 months, I respond. We have to make it 6 months. We will, she says, but her voice lacks conviction. I look out at the fields, at the dust drifts, at the devastation that used to be a farm. The sun is heading toward the horizon. It's maybe 4 o'clock now, and the light has that golden quality of late afternoon. It should be beautiful. It used to be beautiful, that prairie light. Now it just illuminates the destruction more clearly. Those who worked farms during the Depression, who remember what it meant to sign up for government programs after generations of independence, You'll understand what that moment cost. It wasn't just paperwork, it was identity. It was admitting that the old ways, the self-sufficient ways, weren't enough anymore. I'd love to hear in the comments if you or your parents went through this, if you remember the difficult decisions between pride and survival. Evening. What remains? The rest of the afternoon passes in work. I finish shoveling the worst of the drifts. Martha sweeps the house, a futile gesture, but one that gives her something to do. The kids play outside until Martha calls them in for the evening. Dinner is beans and cornbread. We have beans because the government commodities program provides dried beans to farmers. We have cornmeal for the same reason. Everything we're eating tonight came from federal assistance, not from our own production. This farm produces nothing except dust and broken dreams. But the beans are filling, and the cornbread is decent when Martha makes it with the last of the bacon grease to add flavor, and we eat together at the table as the sun sets outside, painting the dust orange and gold. Daddy signed papers today, Martha tells the kids. The government's going to help us. Help us how? Ruth asks, practical as always. Help us buy seed to plant, I say, when the rain comes. When will it rain? Tommy asks. Soon, I lie. It has to rain eventually. The Kansas State Weather Service says the drought is caused by a persistent high-pressure system that's been parked over the Great Plains for 3 years, blocking the normal moisture flow from the Gulf of Mexico. They say it could break any time, or it could continue for years. Nobody knows. Weather is still more art than science. All I know is that it hasn't rained in any meaningful way since 1932. That's 3 years, 3 growing seasons, 3 crop failures. How much longer can this continue? After dinner, Martha washes the dishes with a precious few cups of water. I sit at the table and try to read the newspaper. It's 3 days old, from the county seat, delivered by a neighbor who drove in for supplies. The headlines are all about the drought, the dust, the federal programs, the refugees heading west. Dust Bowl refugees flood, California, one headline reads. Locals resist influx of Okies and Arkies. We're not from Oklahoma or Arkansas, but Okie has become a catch-all term for anyone fleeing the Great Plains. In California, apparently, they're not welcome. They're seen as disease-carrying, job-stealing, charity-seeking burdens on a state already struggling with the Depression. So much for starting over in California. I read another article about farming techniques. Contour plowing, terracing, shelter belts. Methods that supposedly prevent soil erosion, that protect the land from wind. The article makes it sound so simple. If farmers had just used better techniques, the Dust Bowl wouldn't have happened. It makes me angry. We didn't know. My father didn't know. We plowed in straight lines because that's how you plow. We planted wheat because wheat is what grows here. We turned the grassland into cropland because that's what homesteading meant. We did what everyone said was right, what the land offices encouraged, what the economy demanded. And now we're being told it's our fault, that we ruined the land through ignorance and greed. Maybe we did. Maybe we're paying the price for not understanding the land we tried to tame. Maybe the prairie is fighting back, reclaiming what we tried to take. Martha puts the kids to bed early. There's no reason to burn kerosene late when there's nothing to do after dark. I hear her reading them a story, her voice soft and soothing, creating a world different from this one, a world where children go on adventures and everything turns out all right in the end. When she comes back out, I'm still sitting at the table, the newspaper forgotten in front of me. "What are you thinking?" she asks, sitting down across from me. "I'm thinking about leaving," I admit. Really leaving. California, Washington, Oregon, somewhere it rains. She's quiet for a moment. "Your father is dead," I interrupt. "Dead from this place, from the dust that destroyed his lungs, from the work that destroyed his body, from the hope that destroyed his spirit. Henry, I made him a promise, I know, but I made you a promise too. And I made promises to those kids when they were born. And I can't keep all those promises. I have to choose which ones matter more. She reaches across the table and takes my hand again, just like she did this morning. Her hand is warm and solid and real. We don't have to decide tonight, she says. We have until October. We have the government money coming. We have time. Do we? I ask. Do we really? Or are we just waiting here to die slowly instead of leaving while we still have the strength to make it somewhere else? She doesn't answer. She doesn't have an answer. Neither do I. We sit there for a long time, holding hands, listening to the wind outside. It's always wind, always dust, always the slow erosion of everything we've built and believed and hoped for. Finally, Martha stands up. "Come to bed," she says. "Tomorrow will come whether we're ready or not." She's right. Tomorrow always comes. I blow out the lamp and the house goes dark. We feel our way to the bedroom, undress in the dark, slide under the thin blankets. The house creaks and settles. The wind whispers at the windows. Somewhere far off, a coyote howls. One of the few animals that seems to thrive in this wasteland. I lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. I can't see, listening to Martha breathe. She falls asleep before I do. She always does. Her breathing slows and deepens, and I'm alone with my thoughts. I think about my father, who believed in this land with religious faith, who told me that hard work and determination could overcome anything, who died still believing, still hoping, still certain that the rain would come back and everything would be all right. I think about my children, who deserve better than this, who deserve food and security and a future that holds something besides dust. I think about the land itself, this prairie that used to be covered in grass, that used to support millions of buffalo, that used to be one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. We broke it. We plowed it up and planted wheat and broke it. And I think about tomorrow, about the sun rising on another day of dust and struggle and slowly dying hope, about the choice I have to make, stay and fight a losing battle, or leave and become one more refugee from the American dream. I don't know when I finally fall asleep, but at some point, exhaustion wins out over anxiety, and I drift off. And in my dreams, it's raining. Night, dreams, and reality. The rain in my dreams is gentle and steady. It falls on green grass and black soil, soaking in, nourishing, bringing life. The wheat grows tall and golden, swaying in a breeze that carries the smell of life instead of death. The barn is straight and solid. The animals are fat and healthy. Martha is smiling. The kids are running through the grass, laughing, playing, growing. This is how it used to be. This is what I'm fighting to get back to. This is what I can't let go of. But when I wake, it's still dark, maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. I can hear the wind rattling the windows, and I know the rain was just a dream. The dust is real. The drought is real. The slow death of everything is real. I lie there in the dark, not moving, not wanting to wake Martha, just existing in this moment between sleep and waking, between hope and despair. And I make a decision. I'll give it 6 more months, until October when the government payment comes. I'll plant the reduced acreage if I can get seed. I'll pray for rain, though I've long since stopped believing. God listens to farmers who broke the land He gave them. I'll do everything I can to make this work. But if October comes and nothing has changed, if the land is still dead, if the rain still hasn't come, if we're still slowly starving, then we'll leave. We'll pack up what fits in the truck, we'll say goodbye to this place, and we'll head west like so many others. It's not giving up, it's survival. It's choosing my family over my pride. It's choosing life over a dead man's promise. I close my eyes again, trying to recapture the dream of rain, but it's gone. There's only reality now. The hard mattress, the thin blanket, the sound of wind, the taste of dust. This is my life. This is what it means to be a farmer in 1935 in the heart of the Dust Bowl. This is survival, day by day, crisis by crisis, storm by storm. And tomorrow today, really, since dawn is only an hour or two away, I'll get up and I'll do it all again. I'll milk the cow, feed the animals, check the fields, shovel the dust, maintain the failing infrastructure of a dying farm. Because that's what you do. You keep going, you survive. You don't give up, not yet, not while there's still a chance, however slim, that things might get better. You keep going because stopping means admitting defeat, and I'm not ready for that. Not yet, maybe not ever. Dawn again. The cycle continues. I wake for real when I hear the roosters. Yes, we still have roosters, though they don't have much to crow about these days. The light through the window is that same gray-brown that means another dusty day. I slide out of bed quietly, not waking Martha. I pull on my overalls, my shirt, my boots. The same clothes, the same routine, the same day beginning again. I step outside into the pre-dawn chill, and the wind is already blowing. Not hard, but steady. The dust in the air is lighter today. We'll probably only get moderate dust instead of a full storm. Small mercies. The animals are waiting. The work is waiting. The day is waiting. I walk to the barn, my boots crunching on the dust-covered ground, and I pull open the door. "Morning, Bessie," I say to the cow. "Let's see what you've got for us today." She looks at me with those patient eyes, and I see reflected in them the same stubborn determination that keeps me going. She's a cow. She doesn't have choices. She just keeps living, keeps producing, keeps surviving, because that's what life does. Maybe I'm not so different from her. Maybe we're all just animals, doing what we must to survive, hoping that survival leads eventually to something better. I settle onto the milking stool, lean my head against Bessie's warm flank, and start the familiar rhythm. Pull, squeeze, release. Pull, squeeze, release. The milk hisses into the pail, white and clean and proof that life continues. And I think today might be the day it rains. Today might be when things change. Today might be when hope becomes reality instead of just a dream. Probably not. But maybe, and maybe is enough to keep going for one more day. This is survival in the Dust Bowl. This is what it means to hang on when everything says let go. This is the story of thousands of families just like mine, making the same calculations, facing the same choices, hoping for the same impossible rain. If tonight's glimpse into April 1935 brought back memories, if your parents or grandparents told you stories about the Dust Bowl, about the Depression, about choosing between pride and survival, I'd be honored if you shared them below. Your generation holds history that books can't capture. The lived experience of that era is irreplaceable. Now rest well. Tomorrow, today, I'll be out there again doing it all over because that's what farmers do. We persist. We endure, we hope, even when hope seems foolish, especially then. I'll continue expanding the script to reach the full 26,000 words. Picking up from where we left off, the milk flows steady into the pail, and I let my mind wander while my hands work. This is meditation in its way, the only time my brain gets to rest from the constant calculation of survival. How much food? How much water? How much money? How much time before it all runs out? When the pail is about half full, that's all Bessie has to give today. I stand up, knees protesting as always, and pat her flank. Good girl, you're doing better than the rest of us. I carry the milk pail out of the barn, and the sun is fully up now, maybe 6:30. The heat is already building. It's going to be another scorcher. I can feel it in the air, that particular quality of morning that promises brutal afternoon temperatures. Martha is up when I get back to the house, already starting a fire in the stove for breakfast. Ruth is setting the table. 4 plates, 4 cups, the same chipped and mismatched set we use every day. Tommy is still in his nightclothes, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Half a pail," I report, setting the milk on the counter. Martha nods, not surprised. "I'll save most of it for the kids. We can have coffee black." "Coffee's coffee," I say, though I miss the days when we had enough milk to lighten it, enough sugar to sweeten it, enough of everything that we didn't have to ration every spoonful. Breakfast is cornmeal mush, with a drizzle of milk and a sprinkle of salt. It's bland and filling and exactly the same thing we ate yesterday and the day before that. The kids eat without complaint. They've learned that complaining doesn't create food. Martha eats a tiny portion, claiming she's not hungry. I eat more than I want to, forcing it down, because I'll need the energy for the work ahead. "I need to ride into town today," I tell Martha. "Check at the feed store, see if they've got any seed on credit. Talk to some other farmers, see who's signed up for the government program." "How long will you be gone?" 3, 4 hours. Back by lunchtime. I pause. "We need anything else while I'm there?" She thinks about it, mentally going through our supplies, calculating what we can afford versus what we need. "Flour, if you can get it on credit, lamp oil, maybe some sugar if..." She trails off. We both know there's no money for sugar. Sugar is a luxury we gave up months ago. "I'll see what I can do," I say, which commits me to nothing. After breakfast, I hitch Duke, the bigger of our 2 horses, to the wagon. Not the truck. The truck needs gasoline, and gasoline costs money. The horse needs oats, and we have a little left. Plus, Duke needs the work. Horses go crazy standing around with nothing to do. The wagon is a flatbed farm wagon built by my father in 1905. The wood is weathered and cracked, the wheels are wobbly, but it rolls. That's all I need. I climb up onto the wagon seat, release the brake, and give Duke a gentle slap with the reins. "Let's go, boy." We head out down the road, such as it is. The county road that runs past our farm used to be graded regularly, kept smooth enough for automobile traffic. Now it's a rutted mess of dust and potholes, barely distinguishable from the fields on either side. The county's broke, same as everyone else. No money for road maintenance when people are starving. The ride to town is 7 miles. At wagon speed, that's about an hour and a half. I settle in for the journey, watching the landscape roll by. Or rather, watching the same landscape repeat endlessly, flat, brown, dead. Occasional abandoned farms marked by sagging structures and "for sale" signs that no one will ever answer. Fence lines half buried in dust drifts. Dead trees standing like monuments to better times. I pass the Hendersons' place. Their house is boarded up, empty. They left 3 months ago, headed to Oregon where Bill Henderson's brother supposedly had work in the timber industry. I wonder if they made it. I wonder if they found what they were looking for, or if they're just broke and desperate in Oregon instead of broke and desperate in Kansas. I pass the Schmidt's place. They're still here. I can see smoke from their chimney, but their fields look as bad as mine. Ernst Schmidt is 72 years old and stubborn as the rocks in the field. He'll die on this land before he leaves it. I respect that, even if I think it's foolish. About halfway to town, I catch up with another wagon heading the same direction. It's Carl Peterson, farmer from 3 miles south of me. He's got his 2 sons with him, young men, maybe 20 and 22, big and strong, but thin like everyone else. "Henry!" Carl calls out, slowing his wagon so I can pull alongside. "Heading to town?" "Same as you. Need to talk to the feed store about seed." Carl nods grimly. "Signed up for the government program yet?" "Yesterday." "You?" "Last week. Don't like it, but don't see another choice." He spits into the dust. "Never thought I'd be taking handouts from Washington." It's not handouts, I say, though I'm not sure I believe it. It's a program. We're participating, not begging. Keep telling yourself that, Carl says, but not unkindly. Either way, it's better than starving. My boys here need to eat, and there's no work for them. Can't farm when there's no rain. Can't work in town when the town's dying too. His son sits silent on the wagon seat, faces blank, eyes hollow. Young men should be full of energy and hope. These two look like they've already lived a hard 50 years. Any word on rain? I ask, knowing the answer but asking anyway. It's what farmers do. We talk about weather like other people talk about sports or politics. Radio says maybe next week, but the radio's been saying maybe next week for 3 years. Carl adjusts his hat against the sun. My grandmother used to say you could feel rain coming in your bones. My bones don't feel nothing but dust. We ride together the rest of the way to town, talking sporadically about crops that won't grow, about government programs we don't trust, about the future we can't see. It's comfortable conversation, if depressing. We're in this together, all of us. Misery loves company, and we've got plenty of both. The town appears on the horizon around 9 o'clock, a cluster of buildings rising from the flat prairie like a mirage. Elkton, Kansas. Population 843, according to the sign at the town limits. Though I'd bet it's closer to 600 now. People have been leaving. Elkton consists of one main street with a dozen businesses, a few side streets with houses, a grain elevator that towers over everything else, and a sense of slow collapse that hangs in the air like the dust. The businesses are mostly empty. Half the storefronts have closed signs in the windows. The bank failed in '32 and never reopened. Carl and I part ways at the feed store. He's got business at the bank building where the government programs office has set up, and I need to talk about seed. I tie Duke to the hitching post outside Morrison's Feed and Supply, and I go inside. The store is dim and cool after the bright heat outside. Jeb Morrison is behind the counter, a big man running to fat despite the hard times. He's one of the few people in town who seems to be doing okay. Feed stores stay in business as long as there are animals, even if there aren't crops. Henry, Jeb greets me, not unfriendly but not warm either. I owe him money. $47 for feed I bought last fall, before I admitted to myself that I couldn't pay. He's been patient, but patience has limits. Jeb, I'm here about seed, wheat seed specifically. I'm signed up for the AAA program now, need to plant the reduced acreage. Jeb nods slowly. Heard they're signing up, folks. How much acreage they letting you plant? 160 acres. Need seed for that. That's, he calculates in his head, probably 8 bushels of seed, assuming 50 pounds an acre. I've got seed. Question is, how are you planning to pay for it? Government man said I could get credit through the Farm Credit Administration, 3% interest. That's if you qualify. You current on your mortgage? I hesitate. Mostly. Mostly meaning you're behind. 2 months. Jeb sighs, not unkindly. Henry, I feel for you, but I can't extend more credit when you're already in debt to me and behind on your mortgage. The FCA won't approve you either, not with that record. You're a bad risk. The words hit like a physical blow. A bad risk. That's what I've become. A man who can't pay his debts, can't grow crops, can't provide for his family. A bad risk. What if I pay down what I owe you, I say, scrambling. I've got a little in the bank. $20. I could give you that. Bring the debt down to 27, and then maybe. Henry, stop. Jeb's voice is gentle now. $20 won't change anything. You're drowning, and you're asking me to throw you an anchor. The kindest thing I can do is tell you the truth. You can't farm this year. You don't have seed, you don't have credit, and even if you did, there's no rain coming. Save your $20. Feed your family. Make it through the summer. I stand there, stunned. I came here with a plan. Get seed, plant reduced acreage, qualify for government payments, survive until October. And Jeb just destroyed that plan with basic financial reality. There's got to be another way, I say, but my voice sounds hollow even to me. There is, Jeb says quietly. Head west. California, Washington, Oregon. I've heard there's work picking fruit, working in canneries, logging. Real wages, not farm promises. Half the county's already gone. Maybe it's time you went too. I leave the feed store without buying anything, without making any progress, without any idea what to do next. Duke is waiting patiently at the hitching post, and I stand beside him, one hand on his neck, trying to think. Without seed, I can't plant. Without planting, I can't qualify for AAA payments. Without payments, I can't survive until the drought breaks. And if I can't survive, then what? Leave? Lose the farm to the bank? Become one more refugee family heading west with nothing but desperation and a broken-down truck? I'm standing there, lost in dark thoughts, when someone calls my name. Henry Kaufmann. I turn to see Reverend Thomas from the Methodist Church, walking toward me with purpose. He's a small man, maybe 55, with white hair and the kind of optimism that either comes from deep faith or deep delusion. I'm not sure which. Reverend, I acknowledge. Haven't seen you at services in a while, he says, and there's no judgment in it, just observation. Been busy. Too busy for the Lord? I almost laugh. The Lord seems too busy for us, Reverend. Hasn't sent any rain lately. He doesn't take offense. The Lord works in mysterious ways, Henry. This drought is testing our faith, testing our character. Those who endure will be rewarded. Rewarded with what? Dust? More failure? Dead children? The words come out harsher than I intended, but I don't take them back. Reverend Thomas is quiet for a moment, and when he speaks again, his voice is softer. I know you're struggling. Everyone is. But the church has resources, food donations, some emergency funds from the diocese, if you need help. Charity, I interrupt. You're offering charity. I'm offering help to a neighbor in need. There's no shame in that, Henry. But there is shame. There's tremendous shame in being so reduced that even the church pities you. In being unable to feed your own family with your own labor, in becoming one of the poor instead of one of the self-sufficient. Thank you, Reverend, I finally say. I appreciate the offer. If it comes to that, I'll consider it. He nods, understanding that's as close to acceptance as I can manage right now. Church social is next Sunday. Potluck dinner after services. Everyone's welcome, whether they bring food or not. Come with Martha and the children. It would do you good to see neighbors, be part of the community. Maybe, I say, which means no. He pats my shoulder gently and moves on, off to minister to someone else, to spread his message of faith and endurance and mysterious ways. I envy him, in a way. His certainty, his belief that this all means something, that we're being tested for a purpose, that endurance will be rewarded. I don't have that certainty anymore. I just have questions and fear and an empty wagon where seed should be. I climb back onto the wagon seat and sit there, trying to decide what to do next. I could go to the government office, ask about programs for farmers who can't afford seed. I could go to the bank and beg for a loan extension. I could go to the county relief office and sign up for direct assistance. Or I could just drive home, tell Martha the truth, and start planning our departure. While I'm sitting there, paralyzed by indecision, I see a notice posted on the feed store wall. It's new. The paper is still white, not yet dulled by dust. I climb down and walk over to read it. Works. Prog. Trog. Drog. As administration. Laborers. Needed road construction, public building projects. Fair wages, $50 per month. Report to county office for assignment. Roosevelt administration, putting America back to work. $50 a month. That's more than I've made farming in the past year. And it's guaranteed actual wages for actual work, not crops that might or might not grow, not government payments that might or might not come. But it means admitting I'm not a farmer anymore. It means becoming a laborer, a road worker, a man who builds things instead of growing things. It means giving up. Or does it? Maybe it means surviving. Maybe it means keeping the family fed while waiting for the drought to break. Maybe it's not giving up. Maybe it's adapting. I stand there reading the notice 3 more times, memorizing the details, weighing options I don't really have. Finally, I climb back on the wagon and head to the county office. Not to sign up for WPA work, not yet, but to talk, to learn, to understand what choices remain when farming isn't a choice anymore. The county office is in the old bank building. The bank failed, but the county took over the space for relief programs and government offices. Inside, it's chaos. 30 people? Maybe more. Crowd the small space, waiting in lines, filling out forms, arguing with harried clerks. I recognize most of them. Farmers. All of us farmers, or former farmers, or soon-to-be former farmers. Men who worked land their whole lives, now standing in line for government help like beggars. This is what the Dust Bowl has done. It's broken us, not just our land, but our identity. Who are we if we're not farmers? What does it mean to be a man in western Kansas if you can't make the land produce? I wait in line for 45 minutes, slowly shuffling forward until I reach a clerk's desk. She's young, maybe 25, and she looks exhausted in a way that has nothing to do with physical labor. Exhausted from processing human misery all day, every day. Name? She asks, not looking up from her forms. Henry Kaufmann. I'm here about the WPA work program. Do you currently have employment? I'm a farmer, but the crops failed, no income. Are you willing to work road construction, building projects, whatever is assigned? Yes. Do you have any specialized skills? Carpentry, masonry, equipment operation? I can handle horses, basic carpentry, farm equipment repair. She makes notes on a form. The current project is road improvement on County Road 12. That's mostly pick and shovel work, grading, gravel spreading. $50 a month, paid bi-weekly. You'd need to be on site 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. That's full-time work. That means I can't farm at all, even if I could get seed. That means choosing the WPA over farming, choosing guaranteed wages over hope. Where is County Road 12? I ask. She consults a map. Runs from Elkton south to the county line. About 15 miles. You'd need to travel to the work site daily. That's 7 miles from my farm, each direction, 14 miles total. Can you make that commute? I think about Duke, already underfed, being asked to pull me 14 miles a day in addition to whatever energy I'd have left after 8 hours of manual labor. I think about the time leaving home at 5:30 in the morning, not returning until after dark. I think about Martha and the kids, alone all day on an isolated farm. I need to think about it. The clerk nods, neither encouraging nor discouraging. She's processed hundreds of these conversations. My particular desperation is no different from anyone else's. If you decide to enroll, come back with this form filled out. She hands me a paper. We'll assign you to a crew. Work starts Monday. I take the form, fold it carefully, and put it in my pocket. Another form, another decision, another step toward something I don't want but might need. I leave the county office and step back into the harsh sunlight. It's noon now, maybe later. The sun is directly overhead and the temperature has climbed to 90 degrees. The air shimmers with heat and dust. I should head home. Martha will be expecting me. But I'm not ready to face her with news of failure. No seed, no credit, no plan, except manual labor or departure. Instead, I walk down Main Street to the cafe. Mabel's Cafe, run by Mabel Henderson for 30 years, serving coffee and simple food to farmers and townspeople. I haven't been here in months, can't afford it, but I need coffee and a moment to think. Inside, the cafe is dim and relatively cool, with a counter and 6 tables. 3 tables are occupied, farmers I know, or used to know, before we all became strangers to each other in our shared poverty. We nod at each other, but don't speak. What is there to say? Mabel is behind the counter, 60 years old and tough as nails. She pours me coffee without asking, sets it in front of me with a heavy ceramic mug. 5 cents, she says, not unkindly. I pull a nickel from my pocket, precious coin, needed for more important things. But I need this moment more than I need the nickel. I slide it across the counter. The coffee is hot and strong and real, not the weak, stretched, substitute coffee we make at home. Real coffee, bitter and bracing and familiar. I wrap my hands around the mug and let the warmth seep into my palms. Rough day? Mabel asks, wiping down the counter. They're all rough days. Ain't that the truth? She pauses in her wiping. Heard you signed up for the AAA program. I did. For all the good it'll do, can't get credit for seed. Most can't, she says. Program sounds good on paper, but paper don't plant wheat. I sip my coffee, savoring it, making it last. This might be the last real coffee I have for months. Those of you who remember the Depression, when a nickel for coffee was a real decision, when small luxuries were carefully considered, you'll understand what that moment meant. It wasn't just coffee, it was normality, it was a memory of better times. It was pretending, for 5 minutes, that the world hadn't ended. You thinking about leaving? Mabel asks, direct as always. Thinking about a lot of things. Leaving, working, WPA, signing up for relief. None of them good. None of them are good, she agrees. But none of them are shameful either, Henry. You do what you need to do to survive. Your father would understand that. Would he? He died rather than quit farming? He died because he was stubborn and old, Mabel says bluntly. You're stubborn but young. You've got choices he didn't have. You've got kids who need a father alive more than they need a farmer dead. Her words hit hard because they're true. My father's stubbornness killed him. The dust pneumonia was just the mechanism. His refusal to adapt, to bend, to acknowledge that the old ways weren't working anymore, that's what really killed him. Am I making the same mistake? I finish my coffee in silence, set the mug down gently, and stand up. Thank you, Mabel. Take care of yourself, Henry, and that family of yours. Trying. I walk back to the wagon, untie Duke, and start the long ride home. The sun is past its peak now, afternoon sliding toward evening, but the heat hasn't broken. If anything, it's worse, that thick, heavy heat that presses down on you like a physical weight. The ride home is slower than the ride in. Duke is tired and I'm in no hurry to arrive. I let him set the pace, plodding along the dusty road, and I use the time to think. Late afternoon, returning home. By the time I can see our farm buildings in the distance, maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I've made a decision. Or rather, several decisions that together form a path forward. First, I'm going to sign up for the WPA work. $50 a month is better than nothing, and nothing is what farming is paying right now. It'll mean long days and hard labor, but I'm used to both. It'll mean less time on the farm, but there's no farming to do anyway. Second, I'm going to talk to the farmers union about seed loans. There's a local chapter that sometimes helps members when banks won't. It's a long shot, but it's worth trying. Third, if none of that works, if I can't get seed, if the WPA placement falls through, if we run out of options, then we'll leave. California, Washington, Oregon, wherever we can find work and food and a future. I'll give it until August. If nothing has improved by August, we pack up and go. Having a plan, even a desperate plan, makes me feel marginally better. Less adrift. More in control, even though I'm clearly not in control of anything. When I pull into the yard, Martha comes out of the house, wiping her hands on her apron. She takes one look at my face and knows the news isn't good. "No seed?" she asks. No credit. No way to pay for it. She absorbs this, nodding slowly. She knew it was a possibility. We both did. What now? I'm going to sign up for WPA work. $50 a month, road construction. And I'm going to try the Farmers Union for a seed loan. And if neither of those works, I pause, then say it. If neither works, we're leaving. California, I'll give it until August. I expect her to protest, to cry, to argue. Instead, she just nods again, like she's been waiting for me to reach this conclusion. "Okay," she says simply. "Okay." The simplicity of her acceptance breaks something inside me. I expected fight, expected argument, expected her to make me justify the decision. Instead, she's just accepted it, like she's been preparing for this moment all along. Maybe she has. Maybe she's been 3 steps ahead of me this whole time, seeing what I refused to see, preparing herself while I clung to impossible hope. The kids? I ask. Our kids. They'll adapt. They don't care about the land like you do. They care about having food and being safe and having their father not kill himself, trying to farm dust. Ruth and Tommy are playing in the yard, poking sticks into a dust drift, creating patterns and shapes. They look up when they hear us talking, see our serious faces, and go back to their play. They've learned to read adult moods, to stay out of the way when the grown-ups are discussing grown-up problems. I should do evening chores, I say, because I don't know what else to say. I should start dinner, Martha says, because she doesn't either. We part without touching, each going to our separate tasks, carrying the weight of decisions we've made and futures we're trying to avoid. I unhitch Duke and lead him to the barn, removing his harness, giving him oats and water. He drinks deeply. The trip was long and hot, and then noses into his oats. Simple creature, simple needs. I envy him. The evening chores are the same as always. Check the animals, make sure everyone has water. Collect eggs, 2 today, which is actually good. Make sure everything is secure for the night. The routine is soothing in its familiarity, even when nothing else makes sense. By the time I finish and head back to the house, the sun is low on the horizon, creating long shadows across the yard. The temperature is finally starting to drop. It'll be pleasant for maybe an hour, and then it'll get cold. Temperature swings are as extreme as everything else out here. Inside, Martha has dinner ready. It's beans again. We're eating a lot of beans, but she's made them with a bit of the salt pork and some onions from the root cellar. It smells good, familiar, like comfort even when there's little comfort to be found. We eat together at the table, the 4 of us, and there's an easiness to it that hasn't been there in weeks. Maybe it's the decision we've made. Maybe it's the relief of having a plan, even if it's a plan that involves giving up. Maybe it's just exhaustion, removing our ability to maintain tension. Daddy went to town today, Martha tells the kids. Tell them what you saw, Henry. I think about what to share. The desperate crowd at the county office, the closed storefronts, the sense of collapse hanging over everything. I saw Carl Peterson and his sons, I say instead. They were heading to town same as me. And I saw Reverend Thomas. He said to tell you hello, asked when we'd be at services. Can we go to church? Ruth asks. I miss Sunday school. Maybe, I say. Maybe this Sunday. Church social, potluck dinner, community. Things I've been avoiding because I didn't want to face neighbors, didn't want to answer questions about how we're doing, didn't want to see pity in their eyes. But maybe community is exactly what we need. Maybe facing neighbors is better than hiding alone. Maybe pity is just another form of caring, and we could use some caring right about now. After dinner, we sit together in the main room. Martha darns socks by lamplight. There's always darning to do, always repairs needed. Ruth practices her letters on a piece of scrap paper with a pencil stub. Tommy plays with wooden blocks that my father made, building towers and knocking them down, endlessly amused. I sit in the one chair we have, my father's chair, worn smooth by decades of use, and I watch my family. This is what matters. Not the land, not the farm, not my pride or my father's legacy. These three people, alive and together, finding small joys in hard times. "Tell us a story, Daddy," Tommy requests, looking up from his blocks. "What kind of story?" "A happy one. A happy story. In a world of dust and failure and slowly dying dreams, he wants a happy story." Children are optimists by nature. They believe in happy endings, even when all evidence suggests otherwise. I think for a moment, searching my memory for something appropriate. And then I remember. When I was about your age, I begin, maybe a little older, my father took me on a trip to see the buffalo. This was back in 1906, 1907, when there were still wild buffalo on the prairie. Not many. They'd been mostly killed off, but a few remained. "What's a buffalo?" Tommy interrupts. "A huge animal, bigger than our horse, with a great shaggy head and horns. They used to roam this prairie by the millions, so many you couldn't count them. The prairie was their home long before it was ours." I tell them about the trip, about seeing a small herd of maybe 20 buffalo grazing on the grassland, about how my father stopped the wagon and we just watched them for an hour, silent and awed. About how my father said these buffalo were the last of their kind, that they'd survived the slaughter, and that they represented the wild heart of the prairie that could never be fully tamed. "Where are they now?" Ruth asks. "Mostly gone," I admit. Killed for their hides, killed to make way for farms. A few remain in protected areas, but the great herds are gone forever. It's not really a happy story, I realize too late. It's a story about loss and extinction and the cost of progress. But the kids don't seem to mind. They're entranced by the idea of giant, shaggy beasts roaming the land we now farm, of a prairie that was once wild and untamed. "Did they have babies?" Tommy asks. "The buffalo?" "Yes, they had calves. The whole herd would protect the babies, keep them safe from wolves and other predators." "Like Mama and Daddy protect us?" "Exactly like that." Martha catches my eye across the room, and she smiles. It's a small smile, tired but genuine. "We're protecting our calves the best we can. That's all any parent can do." The evening wears on. The lamp burns lower. The kids start to yawn and rub their eyes. "Bedtime," Martha announces, and there's the usual protests, but they're half-hearted. Everyone's tired. She shepherds them to their room, helps them into their nightclothes, hears their prayers. I can hear Tommy's voice, high and earnest. "God bless Mama and Daddy and Ruth and Bessie and Duke and Molly and the chickens, and please make it rain, amen." Please make it rain. If prayer worked that simply, we'd be drowning in rain by now. But the gesture matters. The faith matters. The belief that someone, somewhere, is listening and might care. When Martha comes back out, I've turned down the lamp to save kerosene. We sit together in the dimness, not talking, just being present with each other. "You're really going to sign up for the WPA work?" she asks eventually. "I think I have to. We need the money." "It'll be hard on you. Long days, manual labor." "Farming is manual labor. At least this pays. Farming is your choice. WPA work is something else. I understand what she means. Farming, even failed farming, has dignity. It's choosing what to do with your land, your time, your labor. WPA work is being assigned tasks by someone else, following orders, being labor rather than being a farmer. I can't afford dignity right now, I say. I need $50 a month more than I need to feel good about myself. She nods. I know. I know it's hard for you. Giving up farming, even temporarily. Everything's hard. This is just the latest hard thing. We sit in silence for a while longer, and then Martha stands. I'm going to bed. You coming? In a minute. Need to think a little more. She kisses the top of my head, a gesture she hasn't made in months, and goes to the bedroom. I hear her preparing for bed, the rustle of clothing, the creak of the bed frame, and then silence. I'm alone in the dimness with my thoughts. Night. Final reflections. I sit in the darkness. I've blown out the lamp completely now and look out the window at the night sky. It's clear tonight, the stars brilliant and infinite, untouched by the dust that chokes everything below. The stars don't care about the dust bowl. They don't care about failed crops or starving children or families torn apart by economic collapse. They just burn billions of miles away, eternal and indifferent. There's something comforting in that indifference. My problems are small. My farm is small. My life is small. In the grand scheme of stars and cosmos and infinite time, my failure doesn't matter at all. But it matters to me. It matters to Martha and Ruth and Tommy. Our small failures are our entire world. I think about my father again. What would he say if he could see me now, sitting in his chair, in his house, preparing to give up on his land? Would he understand? Would he forgive? Or would he say, I gave up too easily, that I should have fought harder, endured longer, suffered more before admitting defeat? I'll never know. The dead don't speak, and even when they were alive, my father wasn't big on explaining his feelings. He showed love through work, through providing, through building something that would outlast him. And now I'm preparing to abandon what he built. But maybe he'd understand. Maybe he'd see Tommy's thin frame and Ruth's two old eyes and Martha's exhaustion, and he'd say, family first. Always family first. The land will still be here if you want to come back. The land is patient, but children need to eat now. Maybe he'd say that. I choose to believe he would. I think about California, about starting over, about being 34 years old with a wife and 2 kids and no skills except farming and basic carpentry, about looking for work in a state that doesn't want us, competing with thousands of other refugees for jobs that probably don't exist. The California dream might be no better than the Kansas reality. It might be worse, poverty with the added shame of being an outsider, an Okie, unwanted and unwelcome. But at least it would be different poverty. At least we'd be trying. At least we wouldn't be sitting here slowly suffocating on dust and broken dreams. I make a decision, there in the darkness. Monday morning, I'm going to the county office to sign up for WPA work. I'm going to work road construction for $50 a month, and I'm going to save every penny I can. And if the drought hasn't broken by August, if nothing has changed, if there's still no path forward here, then we're leaving. But I'm giving it one more chance, one more season, one more opportunity for rain to come, for the land to heal, for life to return to the prairie. And if that chance doesn't materialize, then we go. No regrets, no looking back, no guilt. We tried, we endured, we gave it everything we had. Sometimes that's not enough, and that's okay. Survival doesn't require success, it just requires surviving. I stand up from the chair, my knees cracking again, and I walk to the window. The stars are brilliant tonight, scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Somewhere up there is the constellation my father taught me, Orion the hunter. He's rising in the east now, bow drawn, eternally hunting across the heavens. My father used to say that Orion reminded him to keep hunting, keep seeking, never give up. Even when the hunt seemed hopeless, you kept going. That was what made you a man. But there's another interpretation. Maybe Orion isn't about never giving up. Maybe he's about persistence in pursuing what's worth pursuing, and wisdom in knowing when to stop hunting game that doesn't exist. Maybe giving up on impossible hunts isn't weakness. Maybe it's survival. I turn away from the window and feel my way through the darkness to the bedroom. Martha is asleep, her breathing deep and regular. I undress quietly, carefully, and slide under the blankets beside her. The bed is warm where she's been lying, and I curl against her back, feeling her warmth, her solidity, her presence. She stirs slightly, half awake, and her hand finds mine under the covers. "It'll be okay," she murmurs, barely conscious. "I know," I whisper back, though I don't know, but I want to believe it, and maybe that's enough. She drifts back to sleep, and I lie there in the darkness, listening to her breathe, feeling the rise and fall of her ribs, anchoring myself to this moment, this warmth, this life we've built together even when everything else has fallen apart. Tomorrow I'll wake up and milk the cow and feed the animals and start the cycle again. Monday, I'll go to town and sign up for work I don't want but need. Someday soon we might pack everything into a truck and leave this place forever. But tonight, I'm here, in this bed, in this house, on this land. Tonight, I'm still a farmer in Kansas, still fighting the drought, still hoping for rain. Tomorrow can bring what it brings. Tonight, I just need to sleep. And eventually, after what feels like hours but is probably minutes, I do. I drift off into dreams of rain and buffalo and green grass waving in a gentle breeze that smells like life instead of dust. In my dreams, everything is growing. Dawn, the cycle continues. I wake to the sound of wind, always wind. It rattles the windows, whispers through the eaves, reminds me before I even open my eyes that this is the Dust Bowl, this is drought, this is the reality I face. But I don't hear the alarm yet, which means I've woken before it. Good. That gives me a few minutes before the day truly starts. A few minutes to lie here in the warmth, next to Martha, pretending that today might be different. Outside, the sky is beginning to lighten, that deep blue-black of pre-dawn giving way to the first hints of gray. Another day coming whether I'm ready or not. I slide carefully out of bed, trying not to wake Martha, though she stirs anyway. Her eyes open, find mine in the dimness. "Morning," she whispers. "Morning. Go back to sleep." Can't. Too much to do. She's right, of course. There's always too much to do, even when there's nothing productive to do. The maintenance of failure is still maintenance. I pull on my clothes, the same overalls, the same shirt, the same worn-through socks. My boots wait by the door, caked with yesterday's dust and the day before that, and every day going back into memory. In the main room, I can see through the window that the eastern horizon is starting to glow. Not with rain clouds, never with rain clouds, but with the same dusty orange light that means another clear, dry day. I step outside, and the cool morning air hits my lungs. For just a moment, before the dust smell registers, it's almost pleasant. Almost like mornings used to be, before the drought. Then I taste it. Dust, always dust. I walk to the barn through dust that's ankle-deep in places, drifted by last night's wind. The barn door sticks as always, scraping across packed earth, and I pull it open to reveal the dark interior. "Morning, Bessie," I say to the cow. She looks at me with patient eyes, and I see in them the same acceptance I've had to learn. This is life now. This is what we do. We survive. I settle onto the milking stool, lean my head against her warm flank, and begin the familiar rhythm. Pull, squeeze, release. Pull, squeeze, release. The milk hisses into the pail, white and clean, and proof that some things still work, even when most things don't. And I think, Monday, I sign up for the WPA work. By fall, we'll have saved some money, enough to make a choice, stay or go. And if rain comes before then, if the drought finally breaks, maybe we plant again. Maybe we try again. But if it doesn't, we leave. We pack the truck, we say goodbye to this place, and we head west to try our luck somewhere that still has moisture in the air and green in the ground. Either way, we survive. That's the important thing, not success, not pride, not legacy. Just survival. The milk fills the pail slowly, steadily, inevitably. And as I milk, I notice something. The quality of the light through the barn door has changed. It's still the orange-brown of dust atmosphere, but there's something else. A different quality. I stop milking and look up. Through the gaps in the barn walls, through the open door, I can see the sky. And unless I'm imagining it, unless I've been in the dark too long, unless this is just desperate hope creating illusions, the sky looks different, darker, heavier, no. I won't let myself think it. I won't let myself hope for something that probably isn't happening. But I stand up anyway. I leave the half-filled milk pail on the stool. I walk to the barn door and step outside into the pre-dawn light. And I look up. The sky is covered in clouds. Not the brown haze of dust, not the clear blue of endless drought. Clouds, real clouds, gray and heavy and swollen with... I don't let myself finish that thought. But I stand there in the yard, staring up at the sky, and I feel something I haven't felt in 3 years. Not certainty, not confidence, but possibility. Maybe, just maybe. From the house, I hear Martha call my name. She's seen it too. She's standing in the doorway, looking up at the sky, her hand over her mouth. "Henry," she says, her voice small and afraid to believe. "Is that—" "I don't know," I say honestly. "Maybe, maybe not. We'll see." But as I stand there, watching the clouds gather and darken and spread across the eastern sky, I smell something I haven't smelled in 3 years. Rain. The smell of rain coming. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's just memory. Maybe my desperate brain is creating sensations that don't exist. But I smell it, and Martha smells it. And when Ruth comes running out of the house, she stops dead in the yard and tilts her head back and says, "Daddy, is it going to rain?" "Maybe, sweetheart. Maybe." We stand there together, the 3 of us, with Tommy stumbling out to join us, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and we watch the clouds gather. We watch them darken. We watch them spread. And then, so soft I almost don't feel it, so gentle it might be imagination, so tentative it could stop at any moment. A drop of water hits my upturned face, then another, and then, with a soft whisper that builds to a steady patter, rain begins to fall on the Kansas prairie. It rains, not hard, not a deluge, but steady. Real rain, falling from real clouds, soaking into real soil. Martha is crying, her face turned up to the sky, letting rain mix with tears. Ruth is laughing, spinning in circles with her arms out. Tommy doesn't understand what's happening, but he knows it's something good, something important. And I just stand there feeling water hit my face, run down my neck, soak into my shirt, and I think, maybe we don't have to leave. Maybe we can stay. Maybe we can plant after all. Maybe. The rain falls for 20 minutes, then 30, then an hour. The dust-covered yard turns to mud. The barn roof drips water. The windmill catches rain in its catchment. And the land, the dry, dead, lifeless land drinks it in like a dying man drinks water. It's not enough to end the drought. It's not enough to guarantee a crop. It's not enough to solve all our problems. But it's something. It's rain. And rain is hope made physical. Rain is the universe saying, not yet. Rain is possibility. I'll still go to town Monday. I'll still sign up for the WPA work because we need that $50 and rain doesn't pay mortgages. I'll still try for seed loans, still make backup plans, still prepare for the possibility that this rain is a fluke and the drought continues. But I'll also plant. Somehow, I'll find a way to plant, because if rain can fall after 3 years of drought, then anything is possible. If rain can come, then we can survive. If rain can come, then maybe, just maybe, we can make it after all. The rain continues. And for the first time in 3 years, I believe tomorrow might be different. Not easy, not certain, but different. And different is enough. Different is everything. If this glimpse into the Dust Bowl, into the impossible choices between pride and survival, into the daily calculus of what to sacrifice and what to preserve, into the thin line between endurance and surrender, brought back memories or resonated with stories you've heard, I'd be honored if you shared them below. Your generation carries the living memory of the Depression and the Dust Bowl. Your stories, or the stories passed down from your parents and grandparents, are irreplaceable pieces of American history. The determination, the resilience, the refusal to be defeated that you and your generation showed. That's what got us through then, and it's what reminds us now that we can survive anything. Now rest well. The rain falls outside. Tomorrow comes whether we're ready or not, and we'll face it together just like we always have, just like we always will.